Life Center LLC and PewTube Theatrical Firearms channel. Happy Glocktober. Yeah, we're talking about basic black today. So we've had reviews on all sorts of different gas blowback and shell ejecting and other types of Glocks. There's a lot of variations out there. That's the thing about being such a popular model. One of the things it's got going for it, you can swap out lots of parts. You got aftermarket 80% frames you can finish. You've got aftermarket, like the PSA dagger kind of things that are compatible with Glock parts. But sometimes your character in film or television or theater just needs to be basic. You know, your basic beat cop, whatever, and they just need your old Glock 17. So we're taking it back to the classics. Now this is the later gen right now. You can tell in part because it's got the rail. This would probably be like a Gen 3. We got here a Gen 4. Some of the blank firing versions I have are more of a Gen 1 or Gen 2 because they don't even have the tactical rail at the bottom. But regardless, you know, Glock 17, 9mm, full-size duty sidearm. If you need holster stuffers, this is your go-to for beat cops. One of the most common firearms in the world right now at this point. You know, this is solid rubber because sometimes that's all you need. Whether, you know, maybe you're doing stunts and that's great. You want something that's going to be solid and not too heavy and not going to hurt as much, not going to break. But sometimes you just don't need anything more, right? You don't need a live fire capable prop to just sit in a holster at someone's, you know, costume, basically. Or whatever. So, you know, this kind of thing is perfectly fine for a lot of what you're going to do in film and television, whether it's 3D printed, whether it's rubber, whatever. A solid inert prop, a lot of the time, is going to get you through just fine. And, you know, we've got hard rubber, soft rubber, we've got different colors. I just put a little tape on this one for a workshop, but, you know, you get the idea. Nothing wrong with that. And, you know, if you don't even have one of those, just one of the cheap spring blowback plastic airsofts. Do I even have any of those here? I don't know. I don't think I do. This was a Rings Blue Gun Glock 26. Here's a 3D printed one I made. Right. I mean, there's all sorts of variations because it's just so basic and it's chunky and it works. Right. Which is why a lot of people like them. This would be actually a 19 on a 17. I got a 17 over there somewhere. But these Umarex gas blowback versions, especially in the green gas, the CO2 ones are a little bit, I don't know, they just don't feel quite as good. They feel more like cheap BB gun toys, but they do make a nice steel sound. But the magazines are not as good, and you can't top them off the way you can green gas. So I do love these gas blowbacks. These have become a classic. They got full trademarks. Great option to have. They fit in the holsters, all that. And of course, the newer versions that we have added to our collection of options are these spring blowback ones. And so for this, we also have our basic Glock. You know, I've shown some of the fancier Strike Industries versions of Glocks and some of the other versions they've got out there. But this one, it's kind of interesting. It's got a frosted magazine, you know, keeping with the polymer theme. As some modern polymer magazines do, this one allows you to see the springs, to see how many rounds are in there. This particular one, the rounds that it ejects are open in the back, which doesn't look great if you see them, but you know, you could fill that in with some hot glue or something, it'd probably still work. And they look like full rounds, not like shell casings. And that's the trade-off. You can't have it look right both ways without actually firing something. So you either have something that looks right going in, like this does, or it looks right coming out with shell casings, which this doesn't if you see it in slow motion. And this, again, I'll leave the magazine out for now. This is one of those spring blowback laser versions, so it does have a little laser pointer in the end right now that I could take out probably if I wanted to, or just paint over or something so we don't see it in the barrel there if we had a straight-on shot into camera or something like that, because it does activate a little bit of a red dot if it's got batteries, which I think this one doesn't right now. But this is one of those ones that uses a little bit of compression from the spring just in the trigger, and as that compresses, it'll eventually release. That makes it go back and cycle the slide without any gas or electric motor or anything needed. The problem is the balance is so delicate between how much is too much on the squeeze here and just enough to make it go back, but still enough to chamber forward. So they're not very high tolerance. So they do tend to work usually in the proper conditions. You'll get some casings ejecting, right? But as soon as there's anything wrong, anything holding it back, and one experiment I did was putting on this was originally made to go the other way as a scope, an adapter to be able to use a railed scope on one, but I used it just to hold a camera. But as you can see, this doesn't even touch the slide, but just a little bit of weight on the bottom, I guess, was just enough that it made it not return to battery as well. Just a little something, a little bend somewhere was all it took to make it be not quite as smooth and not want to return to battery, which also probably means as these springs wear out, it's also going to not work as well. I don't know. It's just a tight tolerance thing that makes me worry a little bit. Now this one, it did come with some extra parts. So I don't know if some of these would allow me, we've got some extra springs and things in here. A couple of different types of springs, at least 3 or 4 different types of springs, and a couple of Allen wrenches and several of these plastic parts. But this is all we get by way of instructions. You know, Google Translate will help because it's not in English, but it's still not super detailed. This doesn't tell me how to break this down and swap out springs. So I'm going to be a little nervous about trying to replace any parts in this without necessarily knowing what I'm doing. So frankly, this is the kind of thing where usually I'm going to wait until something actually goes wrong and then I'm going to figure, okay, what have I got to lose? And now I'll maybe try and figure out how to take this apart and put a better spring in there. It's not even really visible out through the back here. I'm not sure where those springs go. And like I said, I'm a little afraid to mess with it because it looks pretty darn decent. You know, this also has full trademarks. So these are much better than the cheap plastic spring blowback ones that shoot the little projectile bits. And all have the little selector switch like a Glock 18, but say Glock 17, and just, you can't rack the slide on those without breaking them. You can see the mold lines in the top. This is a much better quality, much better look, but it's weak. And so I'm a little worried about the reliability in terms of function, but sometimes you just need a basic lock. And so whether it's a little bit more of a workhorse like these gas blowbacks that are just crisper, they got a little bit stronger action, and they're going to be a little more reliable, and they're more common, so you can get replacement parts more easily, you can have backups more easily, or whether it's these cool shell ejection ones, because again, that's a cool effect when it works. One less thing to CG in. But on the other hand, now we also have these fake suppressors that'll do muzzle flash. Those work with a gas blowback. Those won't work with this spring shell ejection because there's no puff of air to twitch the little ribbon that is my hack to be able to activate the smoke and flash. So, you know, nothing's perfect yet. They're all options. And, you know, that kind of choice allows for some room for judgment, and is part of why you need a gun wrangler who knows their props and who can make these artistic choices for you. Should this be stock or should it not? Should it look worn or not? What do we need it to do? What are the important things theatrically? What do we prioritize? And what do we do when something goes wrong? These are all questions that your gun wrangler, your armorer really ought to be able to help you answer on your production. And so even when it's not something super fancy, slick looking, and it's just your basic Glock, you still got options, still got choices to make. You still got conundrums that your armorer can hopefully help you solve. So here's hoping that your productions are filled with a lot of fun moments and great shots and moments and discoveries and character choices, and not with a lot of frustration of props breaking and things going wrong. And certainly with nothing unsafe, or whether that be with the props themselves or with you know, somebody not getting permits and running around with what looks like a real gun in the streets and getting in trouble. Don't do that. So wishing you a safe and happy and dramatically effective Glocktober. As for me, some busy times. I'm working on firearms stuff for the last Yiddish speaker at Oregon Contemporary Theater. About to go into some rehearsals, talking rehearsals and props for POTUS, for Outsiders, for, what else am I working on? Wait Until Dark. Yeah, a number of things coming up. And each have their own challenges, and that's what keeps this kind of line of work interesting. Until next time, Kevin Inoue, look good, have fun, and stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy.